Well, good day, everybody. It's been a crazy day, as you imagine. I was all set to do the live update this morning, right on time, and about literally 1 minute before I was due to ring, we had a response about the situation with Triana and the Medivac that's currently underway. So that was the end of that report. Didn't happen, and then all day today, there's been constant communications with everything going on. So I thought I'd give you. First of all, I probably won't even get to do a tracker on this one. I just want to give you a rundown on the latest news and what's happening and what's expected to happen in about 25 minutes with Triana. So you've probably read the posts and bits and pieces, but some people on YouTube don't get that. And so a reminder that, I got to bring this in on a newsletter when people aren't actually watching YouTube or watching Facebook, just that you can get it all on the website. So, situation overnight, you would have seen that Triana slowed down a lot, and that was of concern for Jean about getting to a port in a hurry. That wasn't going to happen. It was pretty obvious it was going to take quite a few days. Also, Stefan was pretty uncomfortable during the night. There was still a bit of bleeding that was having some issues, and to try and explain, I don't want to go right into the injury, but it's only a small gash, but there's bits missing and stuff, and certainly the injury is very close to some major arteries and some major nerves and veins and bits and pieces there. So, but fortunately, none of those were damaged. But nonetheless, it's a delicate situation. Obviously, a bit of pain, so they're taking some pretty serious painkillers. And overall, John wasn't happy with the whole situation and made it very clear that he would absolutely prefer to get Stefan treatment as soon as possible, and basically requested a Medivac. Now, as soon as that happens, it's the skipper's responsibility to make that decision. It was pretty clear there was no real reason to set off an EPIRB because we had the good communications with voice and WhatsApp and text messages and so on. But it was more or less declaring an emergency or a distress because there was a life-threatening situation with Stefan. And then we immediately upgraded from code orange to code red, which means we've got a full crisis management situation. And we bring all the rescue coordination centres on board that were monitoring the code orange, because we had a lot of discussions with them yesterday on that situation. So everyone was on standby and hoping for a better outcome, but it wasn't to be. So they're pretty much in the middle of nowhere. They're 210 nautical miles from the southwestern tip of Portugal, and about 210 nautical miles from Madeira and the little island next to that. So in the discussions, it was in the border of Morocco Rescue Coordination Centre. But we were dealing with the next door neighbour as well, which is Portugal, and Morocco were unable to supply assets which would allow a helicopter evacuation, or there were no ships nearby that were able to do that. Portugal, on the other hand, were. And so they, whilst we had medical communications with MSOS as part of their normal procedure, if they're going to do a major rescue effectively, is to confirm the facts. And so their medical people spoke with the captain and got another assessment on Stefan, and were aware of all the other issues. And they very quickly decided that, yes, they would authorise a Medevac to use their assets, which are large military helicopters. And so that started the process. And since then, we've had numerous communications between Portugal MRCC and Triana, going over lots of different things, the processes involved with getting off and so on. And the communication has been going very well. The crew on board Triana are very professional and getting prepared right this moment. The process will be pretty much as we've described in the post on Facebook. Initially, before it was decided, there were a few different options that could be considered, but it was very quickly assessed by Portugal, once they saw the photos we sent them of the boat, that the safest way was to do a life raft transfer. And that's the way it's going. So Triana is set up with that. There is a French aircraft. They very rarely send a single helicopter on a mission like this. And sure enough, there is a fixed wing coming. And interestingly, I'm not sure exactly where from, but it's a French registered aircraft. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was part of support offered by Grisnez, the French Rescue Coordination Centre, but I'm not sure on that. That's just my personal feeling. we'll find out all the facts at a debrief once all this is over. So it's happening right now. The helicopter is due on scene in about 20 minutes, and the conditions are reasonably okay. You can envisage this, if you imagine this, a very big heavy lift long range helicopter, a lot of down thrust, and the process is when the fixed wing aircraft comes overhead, they will give the directions to Triana. And it's assumed that that will be to launch one of the 8-man life rafts. He has 2 8-man soulless life rafts on board. 2 extra crew are geared up, ready to get into the life raft with Stefan. And the decision's more or less been made. They won't be wearing survival suits. The conditions are pretty reasonable, temperature-wise, and by using their normal sailing gear with their full safety kit, they have much better mobility to do things, and it's maybe a little bit gentler and easier on Stefan's leg as well. So Stefan will be in his wet weather gear, full harness, life jacket, PLB, AIS, all the gear ready to go. They'll launch the rafts. They put him in the raft. Both the crew get in, and they will hang behind the boat on a line about 10 meters. They're currently sailing towards Madeira because the helicopter is actually being tasked from Madeira. So it's a different direction. We did actually have Triana stopped for a couple of hours because we assumed that it may have been coming from Portugal, even though they never said. They just said the Portuguese. We just got that impression. No one actually told us exactly where it's coming from until they noticed that Triana had stopped. And they said, "Hey, why has he stopped?" And I said, "Well, because we're waiting for the chopper this way." And they said, "Oh, no, it's coming the other way. Maybe get him sailing again." So probably lost a couple of hours there in sailing terms. But anyway, it's all happening. We're hoping everything goes well. With all these situations, this is a last resort situation, and it's the reason that Jean made the decision in consultation with everyone that the lowest risk outcome was to continue sailing and hopefully get to port within a couple of days. But when that wasn't obvious, it's important to get him off and get the leg considered professionally. So that's what's happening. And whenever you're flying, it's a challenge, but they're specialists. So we'll wait and see the outcome, and hopefully it'll be a successful recovery and then a return to their base, because it's still a couple 100 miles of flying time, before they're actually back and on the ground, touch wood. So as soon as we hear anything now, we'll let you know what's going on. I'm pretty comfortable with all the training that the crews on Triana have had, that they know exactly what to do. And but now we'll just wait for it. Been lucky with the weather. The weather's not bad. There's still a bit of a sea running. They're saying the boat's flopping around. They will have to withdraw all their sails once the helicopter arrives, because there's a lot of downwash, of course, and that pushes everything around a bit. We discussed the aspect of collapsing the canopy on the life raft and being on the outside of the canopy, because that's the best way to get access to what's going on. A lot of people don't realize you can do that. You don't have to stick your head out of the hatch, but we've briefed Triana on what to do there. Get on top of it and sit there, and then wait for the guys. A winchman will come down on the wire, no doubt, hook up with Stefan, and then clear away and take him away and straight to hospital. Then the plan, we discussed that with the life raft. They will attempt to recover the life raft. It'll be a bit of a mess. They'll try and deflate it or pop the tubes or something. It's hard to reuse a life raft once it's actually been in the salt water. So the life raft will no doubt ultimately be scrapped, but no one wants to leave it behind for obvious reasons. So that'll be brought back on board Triana, and then they'll continue on to Cape Town. And we'll wait for good news about Stefan and his leg. I think that's probably all I need to tell you there. We're all sitting, watching, waiting now, and we'll hope for the best. News from Godspeed, you probably saw that. They broke their boom, or they've severely cracked their boom, and so some of that heavy running or whatever. And so they're on their way to Lisbon. They have decided to use their satellite phone, which is an interesting situation, because they're under notice of race rules, and they will no doubt face a penalty from that. But their main objective is to get a quick turnaround on the repairs and get to Cape Town and stick with the fleet on the way around. Fortunately, they're not south of Lisbon, so it's a southeasterly course for them into Lisbon. So hopefully they don't lose too much time. And apart from that, I haven't even looked at I had looked at the tracker a bit this morning, but I was going in cold. So I hadn't looked at it, and I'm not likely to now because we're on standby if any last minute communications with Triana. So this is really more an update just to give you a heads up. I'll just see if there's any questions here. I wouldn't think so, but I'll have a quick look from the top. Hi from Pinner's Job. A simple question: what is the exact sale on the boats on the tracker? What is the extra sale on the boats on the tracker? Is that an indication that they're in the lead in some way? Oh, that's a crown. That's a little crown. It's not an extra sail. Yeah, that'll determine their. They're probably the lead boat in their class. If Godspeed gets assistance, do they go into a different class, like a Chichester class? No, they don't, but they just get penalised. And each situation is different. We look at the reality of the assistance they've been given, and then we think of an appropriate penalty with that. But they realised what they asked when they made the phone call. They asked what happens if they use their phone, and I said you would be that we explained they would be penalised, and we'll assess that at the end of the day on what that might be, right up to disqualification from the first leg of the race. And that just means they could still be in the event, for instance, and it just means their time will be super slow, so they might be the last, but they'll still be in with the fleet and have fun on the other three legs. And that's only a quick grab guess. I've got no idea what the penalty may be until I consider all the facts once it's done with the team here. Good job of managing the medical emergency. Yeah, it's kept us busy. Thank you. Hope this person is okay. Me too. Good luck with Triana. All the best to the crew and the members injured. I hope a smooth operation. Thanks for the update. Yeah, thanks. No problem. Best, is there a Chichester? No, we haven't got a Chichester type class here, but they can stay in the fleet. That happened in the 93 race, the 873 race as well. Especially if you look at Penduick and Eric Taberley at the time, he came back on another edition just to do a couple of legs of the race, and some boats did that. They just did some legs of the race. So each of the four legs is an individual race in their own right, but it's an accumulated time over the whole event. So let's hope Godspeed can hang in there and be part of the fun. I think that's it. I haven't got I don't think I really need or want to go through the tracker right now until we resolve the Triana thing. So I'll leave that till tomorrow. You can all play around with it. And Brian's just sent his report in, so we'll get that up in a minute as well. So we'll catch you tomorrow with all the good news and carry on. Thanks for that. We'll see you tomorrow.